What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great week so far. Hope everyone had a good Monday. It's going to be an exciting night for us here at the podcast. Got some exciting news if you guys can't tell by the background. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great day. Starting off the week right. Ooh, it's gonna be a special one tonight, guys, for everybody. Yeah, tonight's the big 50th episode. You guys know what it is. What's up, Jay's Reptile? Rep to life. Thank you for the positive Monday post. I always try to keep it positive on Mondays. We're always upset about Mondays. It's something that, isn't always that great. Then you can be positive, even more positive about the great things. Oh, snap. Can't see Josh, though. How's your shoulder? I don't even want to talk about it. It hurt for like 3 days.
Can you guys hear me?
You're up, we hear you, Josh.
Ah, cool.
Loud and clear, Bubba.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Woo!
What you doing over there? Dabbing over there?
Yes, sir. For the big 50, I usually smoke. But I was like,
Man, it's crazy that it's already been 50. Alrighty, hold on. Heading back inside. Give me a second.
Party started. All right, guys, for everybody tuning in that didn't know, tonight is our 50th episode of the Pogona Experience podcast. We've been doing this for over a year now. It's been a blast. It started off literally just as me and John going live talking about random things that people probably know, and it's just all evolved into what it is today. And so today's podcast is actually going to be all about genetics. You have a lot of feedback coming up from you from your background, Josh.
Sorry, man. Alright. How about now? Better?
The face, the man, the myth, legend. All right, guys. So tonight's episode is going to be about genetics, traits, anything along those lines. We're going to try to go through and explain it all for you. If you guys got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. We will go over everybody's questions. And of course, I'd like to give a big shout out to all the sponsors that sponsor the podcast happen. We got John from Green Dragons. We got Travis from Cool Dragon. Wow, I said that wrong. No, I got that right. Travis from Cool Dragons. Colin from Superfly Dragon Guy. Steven from Sapphire Dragons. Christy from JK Dragons. Jason from High Desert Dragons. And Ryan from Fryzy's Reptiles. So shout out to all the sponsors that make the podcast possible, you guys. We'll have some new merch coming soon, available to all the Patreon members. So tonight we're going to be talking about genetics, guys. We're going to be talking also about traits, polygenic traits, recessive genetics, codominant genetics, what it means to be het or heterozygous for something, for a trait. Incomplete dominance. So we're gonna try to touch a little bit of everything. So if you guys got any questions, please drop them in the comments. And remember, any badges that are purchased through the live until the end of February are going to be all donated to US Arc. Right now we are at $773 raised for the month of February. If we could get to 800 or exceed 800, that would be awesome. So feel free to drop a badge if you guys are liking what you hear, to show you guys support. So first we're going to touch on 66%, please. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over what 50% means, 66%, and how a 50% or a 66% turns into 100%. So definitely stay tuned. If that's what you got, if you guys don't even know what we're talking about and you plan on breeding bearded dragons, definitely stay tuned. This is the episode that everybody should be tuned into. So first, polygenic traits, and those are going to be like your colors. Okay, so yellow. I'm not going to say citrus because citrus is a specific color trait, right? But your yellows, your oranges, your reds, those are all going to be polygenic. So you would line breed for them, or breed other animals that are more red to try to produce even redder dragons. So it's a polygenic trait. If both parents show it and you breed them together, you're trying to get offspring that are more visual for whatever it is, more red, more orange, more yellow. So that's a polygenic trait. That's actually not a morph. A lot of people will be like, well, what about the red morph? That's actually not a morph. It's just a trait, guys. So don't get that confused. Also, blue bars. Blue bars is also a polygenic trait. So that's something that if both parents carry it, most likely the offspring are going to produce more of it. But it's not a morph or something that is like recessive that you can breed for. It's a line breeding trait.
And you can't be het for blue bars, which I've heard before.
Yeah, you can't be het for blue bars. If it doesn't have it, it's not going to pass it on polygenically. Unless it's like a Whiplets or a Zero that you, for some reason, have in your blue bar project. You won't visually see it, but it could polygenically pass it on to its offspring if its parents were very strong with blue bars, but it wouldn't really make sense. So don't do that. Color stripes, actually one of Josh's favorites. Color stripe is actually not a morph. It is a trait. So if both parents have the color stripe and you breed them together, you're going to get better looking color stripes, thicker color stripes, more color stripes. It's actually not a morph. A lot of people get it confused with genetic stripe, which we'll get into later. But color stripe is completely different. It's the two stripes down the dragon's back. Usually it meets at the tail, starts at the head, and it's another color. So most of the time I see it, it's orange or dark red.
Yeah. I've seen them. I've heard them being called color stripes, visual stripes, but it all just depends on who you're talking to. But a color stripe is what it's a color. And then I know there's some dragons that I had a male that I bought him as a genetic stripe, but he wasn't. He just had a really nice visual stripe, but it wasn't perfect. So it was a stripe, but it wasn't a straight line. It was kind of like chalky, and he never produced a genetic stripe. So it's something else to think about.
So color stripe, guys, it's not like a codominant or recessive trait that you could breed for. It's polygenic. So it's something you have to line breed. Both parents have to have it if you want to produce more of them or better. Like phantom dragons, they have the color stripe that they call the phantom stripe. That is a line that they've been breeding for like 16 years. So it goes very far back. It is a color stripe, but it's their specific color stripe that they've been breeding for a long time.
And they have, and with the Phantom stripes, because I'm really into the color stripes. The Phantom stripes have different like grades, I guess. So like I've heard people say that they have an A1 Phantom stripe, meaning that the color is pretty much like a genetic stripe because the colors don't break at all. They just go straight down the back. And then there are some that are less desirable that, are obviously less quality. So I know Phantom Stripe, they do have like almost like grades, like grade A, grade B, grade C. And I know somebody that I think she has well, at least when he was a baby, he was an A or like the high grade color stripe. So, which is, or Phantom Stripe. So, which is pretty cool.
Sorry, guys, the tortoise was tearing shit up in the room again. I swear. I'm going to have to start putting him in a tote or something when I do lives. He's always in the back, jacking up stands. And, only does it during the lives, though.
Yeah, of course.
So, also, one of another polygenic trait that can be passed on is the tiger. The white stripes that are the white tiger stripes that go down the back of a bearded dragon. A lot of people don't breed it as much anymore, or it's not like as predominantly produced. But it used to be a huge thing. So everyone used to be like, yeah, I got hypo tigers. Like tiger used to be a huge thing. But
Rainbow
it's literally the white stripes that go in a tiger design down the bearded dragon's back. So the more that your dragon visually has these tiger stripes, if both parents have them and you breed them together, you're going to have better tiger stripes. So with all polygenic traits, if both parents have it, that's what you're shooting for, to breed them like a polar. So polar, I'm not going to touch on that one because I personally just don't know.
What is it?
About it. Polar, I don't know enough about it to even comment. But to me, it's like a white hypo. Like, but
I know what you're talking about. They look, they're like bootleg zeros. Is that what you're talking about?
Kind of. They just so.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
I'm gonna hold on, guys.
Like if he's if what Jeremiah's talking about is what I'm thinking about, it's like they're like zeros, but they're not. Like I don't know how to describe them. Like they have
Polar are trans white hypo. Okay, so yeah, it was a white hypo. It's just it also has the trans gene in it. So a polar it gets that gummed up look from the trans, but it's also a white hypo. So it's not a zero. It has white pigment. It still has pattern on the back, but usually the pattern's like gray or dull.
You heard Jeremiah? I'm not seeing any of the comments, so I don't know why. But
you're not seeing any of the comments?
The last comment that I saw was Draco 3529 that joined. That's the last comment that I saw.
Well, Evolution Dragons said, "What's up?"
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Dropped in there. We got LA Exotics in the chat. So thank you guys. Remember, you guys, if you get in the chat and you just start talking it up, that does help us. Also, if you go down to the bottom corner where the little paper airplane is and share this live video with all your friends, it helps us a lot. So if you can't buy a badge tonight, support us monetarily. Please just support us the free ways, guys. Comment in the lives, talk to us, ask questions, share the live with all your friends. All of this helps us out right now. Writing it down. Don't be, if you got any questions too, don't be afraid to ask. So those are all the polygenic traits that we're going to talk about tonight. So colors, as far as red, orange, yellow, whatever the colors are that you're trying to get, those are polygenic traits. Yeah, please, like John said, share this live right now, guys, because I'm going to get a million questions from all your friends about how you talked about this live, and they're going to be like, what did you say about this part? And I'm going to have to be like, just go watch the live. So they can watch it now instead of having to watch it. Get them in here. Maybe they have some questions. So,
hey, I'm going to hop back in because I'm not seeing any of the comments, right?
All right, hop back in.
All right.
So we got colors, blue bars, color stripe, and tigers. So those are all polygenic traits that are passed down from parents. That if you breed, both parents carry the trait, and you breed them together, you're going to produce offspring that visually show that trait better. That's what polygenic means. So if you got two red dragons and you put them together, you're hoping to get better looking red dragons.
All right, I'm back.
Next, we got recessive genes. All right, hold on. I got to put this guy in a tote. He's going to tear up.
Who, the turtle?
All right, guys.
The sulcata, right? That's the one you got? The sulcata turtle?
What?
Tortoise? He's a sulcata?
Yeah.
What is he?
So I have a rescued male sulcata. He's got some pyramiding going on from his last family or whatever, but for some reason tonight he wants to move my hatchling rack all over the place.
They're funny.
All right, guys, back to what we were talking about. So recessive genes. These are probably the most confusing ones for everybody to understand.
Sorry, it's gonna get loud. Hold on. The boys.
All right, the boys are out. All right, guys. So recessive genes, I'm gonna kind of just read through all of them real quick, and then we'll touch on each one. So 0, Whiplets, Weirdo, translucent, hypo, and leatherback. Leatherback can be recessive. We will talk about that here later. But the 0 gene is the all-white dragon. For all of you guys that don't know, I actually have a 0 we can...
I think that's your male, right? Or is it the female?
No, female 0.
Female.
Male Whiplets. So
Male
this is my female 0. You guys can see she's really really nice and white. So the 0 gene really is just a 0 pigment. Like, it's all white. It has nothing. It's kind of the end gene, right? Because
But they do have like a gray tint to them though. The 0s.
So they're gray when they get cold.
Yeah.
But, like, they're warm, they look super white. Like, my camera can't pick it.
Yours is a hypo 0?
Yeah, hypo. Yes, she's head for trans. So then we got Whiplets, which Whiplets is the patternless gene. It does sometimes get confused with the 0 gene because they can be gray, but they also have colored. And 0s have gray shoulder pads. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, the little shoulder pads that are right below the neck. 0s will have gray or black if they're not hypos. Shoulder pads. Whiplets do not have shoulder pads. They have no coloring right there. They have the shoulder pads. They just have no coloring on it. So whatever color the dragon is, if it happens to be a high colored red wits or a yellow, it'll be the same color as the dragon. You won't be able to tell any difference in the shoulder pads. And that also is how you So a lot of people get confused and don't know how to tell a Weirdo from a zero. Well, a Weirdo is a dragon that is visually Whiplets and visually zero, but the only way you can tell is because it doesn't have the shoulder pads. So it being visual Whiplets, it'll be white just like the zero, but it won't have shoulder pads. That's how you can kind of tell the Weirdo from a zero is the shoulder pads, guys. So Whiplets is patternless. It can be colored. It just won't have the dragon or the tiger lines. It won't have color stripes. Nothing. It'll be patternless. Its back will just there will be no pattern. It'll be color. Then we have the translucent gene, which also there's a ton of controversy around.
Yeah.
And so the trans gene, some people, the biggest thing that I actually kind of just learned about this morning is people are saying that they have partial trans dragons, right? Well, there's no such thing as partial trans. Partial trans isn't a thing. Like it's people are just making that up. Sometimes dragons that are translucent will not have black eyes. Okay, and that is where people are saying they have a partially trans dragon, but it's not. If it's trans and it's visual for the trans gene, then it's translucent. There's no partial about it. It's either visual or it's het for it. Okay, and if it's het, it's not partial. It's just het. Don't change the words. Don't confuse people. Shout out to the two people that bought badges tonight. I think Cool Dragons was one of them. I just saw you come up, so appreciate that, Travis. So a trans dragon can have colored eyes and
eclipsed eyes.
Yeah, so I've seen, or I haven't seen it. I read because all my trans dragons have black eyes, but. Full trans but won't so partial trans, full trans but won't display full characteristics. If that is exactly what I hope most of you meant by partial trans, right? Is it doesn't show the black eyes. Some dragons will be born with black eyes, lose the black eyes, and then it'll come back later on in life. So sometimes they'll lose it and it'll never come back. Sometimes they'll lose it and it'll come back and they'll get the black eyes again. But if your dragon is trans, which you should know when it's a baby, you'll see through the stomach. The stomach will be all blue or purplish looking. It'll have the gummed up scales, so it'll almost look like the scales are like your fingernails. They're kind of clear at the tips and stuff. Those are all characteristics of the translucent gene, right? And it helps saturate dragons, bring out the color. But just know that if someone is saying that the dragon is trans, visual at all, it's not partial. Okay, there's no partial. It's either visual for the gene or it's het for the gene. And het just means heterozygous, which means it carries the gene but doesn't visually show it. Okay, guys, that's why I don't want anyone to get confused with the partial, because they might think, if it carries it, is it partial because, one of its alleles is. But anyways, so next one is hypo. And for all recessive genes, both parents have to be carrying the gene. So, and this isn't like a trait. This is a gene. So they have to be carrying the gene to reproduce trans dragons. So it either has to be het for trans or visual for trans to produce other translucent dragons. Any of these recessive traits, they will have to be carrying the gene. So they'll have to either be het or they'll have to be visual and bred to another visual or another het. So like the hypo, if you want to produce hypo, you either have to breed it to another hypo dragon or another dragon that is het for hypo. If you have one visual dragon for hypo and the other dragon doesn't carry the gene at all, the offspring are going to be 100% het for hypo, because one parent was visual, so all of the offsprings are going to be carriers of the gene. I probably lost a ton of people right there.
No, I mean, it's like a puzzle. Like if both the parents have two pieces, they'll make a full puzzle.
They can't. Yeah, it's possibility.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the puzzle doesn't get made, and
like
we'll talk about that
I've
later.
people that had a clutch of 20, and they were trying to prove out, you know, their parents, and they've had all het hypos, and one was a visual. That means both parents carry or het hypo, even if one baby had it, which is kind of hard to just have one baby, but that's visual. Is those parents are now 100% hets, no matter what bottom at.
We're going to talk about why those dragons turned into 100% hets, right?
Yeah.
Leatherback. So leatherback can be recessive, but it's more of an incomplete dominance type thing going on, right? So if a normal scale and a leatherback, which are both co-dominant traits, are bred together, you're going to produce leatherbacks and you're going to produce normal scales, right, in the clutch. But all of the normal scale dragons now carry the leatherback gene, right? So they're almost het for leatherback, but it's an incomplete dominance because they're both co-dominant traits. It's not a recessive trait, so it's an incomplete dominance because both co-dominant traits are in the dragon, but it's not visually showing you both of them. So that means the other one is the incomplete dominant trait, and it still carries it and can produce leatherbacks. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but now we're going to get into does anyone have questions? I see, you know, we got quite a few people in here. Have I lost anybody?
Am I still seeing the comments? The last comment that I just got right now was Valentine joined. Is that what you see? I keep looking, but like nothing is loading on my end.
All right, I just want to make sure we're not losing anybody. No one was like, recessive what? So leatherback it can be recessive, also known as incomplete dominance. And now we're going to talk about some co-dominant trait or co-dominant genes, right? So leatherback is co-dominant. You only need one, and co-dominant just means that you only need one parent to carry the gene to produce visuals. So if you have one leatherback in your pairing, you're gonna produce leatherbacks. If you have one dunner in your pairing, you're gonna produce dunners. Both of those are co-dominant. Also, the genetic stripe. If you have one parent that is genetic stripe and you breed it to another dragon that is not genetic stripe, you still have you still can produce genetic stripes.
And I believe it's 50% offspring, correct or no?
What was that?
I believe it's a 50% spread. Like, let's say you have a normal scale, and let's say you have a non-genetic stripe or a non-dunner dragon with bred with the dunner. I think it's 50% offspring.
Yeah, like, it's supposed to be because it's co-dominant. So they're both going to have, you know, a 50% chance of visually showing up in the dragon.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you get more leatherbacks. Sometimes you get more normal scales.
All my clutches, most of the hatchlings come out G-stripe. I don't know if it's a G-stripe thing or what, but most of them, if I breed a clutch of G-stripes, 80% of them end up being G-stripes. So I don't know if that's just my luck.
The the reason I'm not going to talk about like Thunderbolt or whatever is because
Yeah,
all of
that's
it
cool,
is
bro.
stripes thread together to make an even better looking genetic stripe. So it's still a genetic stripe, guys. It's just a nicer looking genetic stripe. So, yeah, nothing ever happens the way it's supposed to, right? 50-50. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Really, all you can do is come up with an equation, and then at the end of the day, hope that your math was right, and that's how it works out. Most of the time, it doesn't work out like that, though.
Yeah.
So we went over, so leatherbacks and dunners, right? Those are both co-dominant traits. But if you breed a leatherback to a dunner, you can have both of those traits show up. So you'll have a leatherback dunner. That is possible. Also, I just wanted to touch on that. So you can have two co-dominant traits visual at once. And yeah, so recessive, both parents have to carry the gene. Co-dominant, only one parent has to carry the gene. And if it's a carrier, if the dragon is carrying the gene, it's considered a het or heterozygous. Now, when you're breeding and you start, a lot of people will be like, or they see the dragon is 66% het, or it's 50% het, or it's 100% het. So when you breed a visual to a het, or let's start off with the easy one.
Het to het.
Yeah. So if you do het to het, one out of 4 of your dragons is going to be visual,
Or
right?
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So one out of 4 should be visual. So if it's visual for whatever gene that you're breeding for, then you already know it carries the gene. So now you have 100%. These 3 dragons that you have left equal your 100% of your equation, right? So each one of these is 33.33% of the rest of your equation. If you have 3 dragons left and they both, or all 3 of them, are 33%, 2 of these dragons are going to be carriers. One of them is not. You don't know which one because of the incomplete dominance, right? So you can't see what is going on, but you know that you got 3 dragons and 2 of them are visuals, one of them is not. So that's where the 66% is. So 33 for this dragon, 33 for that dragon. That's 66% chance that you have of breeding these 3 dragons and producing visuals. So out of the 3 dragons that you have, you know 2 of them are carriers and you know 1 of them is not. You have a 66% chance out of those 3 dragons to prove 2 of them out. And then once you prove them out, they're now 100%. So if it was 66% and you bred it and it produced visuals of whatever gene that you're trying to get, it's now 100% heterozygous for whatever gene that was, because you proved that it is a carrier, not I just got my first COVID vaccination today. Thanks,
No,
Oliver.
vacation today. It says vacation.
Oh, COVID vacation. Got my first. I think he meant vaccination, though.
Shit, I'll take a COVID vacation.
Got the first COVID vacation. I didn't get one of those vacations. All right, guys. So that's the 66 and the 100%, right? So, and then if you also have a dragon that is visual and you breed it to a non-carrier of the gene, all their babies will be 100% het. So they will carry. Yeah, see, he meant vaccine. They'll carry the gene, but not visually show it. So that means they're 100% het. Where you get 50% is
100%.
when you breed a visual to a het. Now you have two dragons that are visual, and you have one dragon that's het, one dragon that's not visual. So now you have a 50-50% chance out of the two dragons that are not visual of hitting one that is actually carrying the gene. So the only way you can produce a 50% is a visual to a het. The only way you can produce 66% is het to het. And the only way you can produce an entire clutch of 100% hets is a visual to a non-carrier.
Yeah. And then I'm sure people have seen my dragon is 25%, or I've even seen 12%. All that is every time that dragon has been bred, it hasn't, like, it's kind of like dwindles its way down, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
It goes from a 66, then it goes to a, not a 50. I'm trying to think.
All there is 50, 66, and 100.
No. Because, no, what I'm saying, no, because there's even 25% hets that I've seen.
You saw someone say 25% hets?
Yeah, and pretty much how it is that pretty like the dragon. I forgot how it was explained to me, but pretty much the dragon hasn't been proved out. So every time, like, let's say the parents. So let's say, for example, you have I'm gonna lose people on this, but I'm trying to remember how it was to me. You had a 66% het, and then you bred that to, whatever, a non, whatever the het is, dragon, and then those offspring are considered blank, and then you keep doing that. Does that make sense?
So
you're dwindling your odds of being het.
So if the dragon is 50% het and is never proved out that it's het for Whiplets, right? Or if it's 100% het and it's bred to another dragon that's visual, you're not going to produce 25%. I think that's what they were saying. So if you have one dragon that's 100% het, right, and you breed it to another dragon that's not visual, it's gonna be a 50% still.
I forgot where I heard that or what I read, but I went on a rabbit hole with somebody or some article, and like I was reading about 12%. I'm like, what the hell?
So what they're saying is like a dragon that's 66% never proved out, bred to a dragon that's a non-carrier, that you still have a chance of that the offspring being. But by the time you get to that, you're just wasting your time and money. Like you
no, 100%.
Getting that far off of track.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I know I talked to somebody or something.
But I was gonna say I don't think it gets below 50. But if you start getting into some crazy, those were like some crazy number, 12%, like that. So
yeah, I don't know. I forgot who it was or what I was reading, but I was like, I would not buy a dragon that's 12% hat for something.
Coco Car, thank you for the badge bot tonight. We got $12 race tonight. We're almost to 800. But so hybridizing, right? And that's not breeding a trait. Sometimes you don't get, like, if you breed a Barbeta to a Vitaset, you're not going to get necessarily 50% right down the line, right? Like some dragons will take more from others, and you might get some crazy percentages like in that. But when it comes down to traits, it's pretty black and white. If you put your stuff into a Punnett square and go through it, that's going to explain everything to you that's going on. And if you guys don't know what a Punnett square is, it's literally a square with 4 boxes.
4 boxes, yeah.
Then use an uppercase letter for a codominant gene, and a recessive gene use a lowercase number or letter. And each dragon has 2 traits that it carries on. Fill out your square, figure out what you're going to produce, hopefully, right? I've had babies that a couple had one clear nail and the rest dark. No idea what's going on there.
I've heard that
Crystal
before
Clear
too.
Exotics, thank you for the badge. I mean, I've heard like crazy things like one black eye, one colored eye.
Yeah.
But like there was a few crazy things going on that we didn't touch on. Like Paradox, I'm not even experienced enough to. We need like KP's critters on or someone producing a high volume of those to like explain that to you what's going on there.
Yeah, he explained it that day, and I still didn't really understand. In my opinion, and from what I understand, it's just like it's a luck of the draw. Like you kind of can't really breed for it. The only way to breed for it is if you have parents that continuously produce paradoxes. Then clearly, whatever they have going on makes the
Yeah, right.
defect. Yeah.
Thank you everybody for purchasing badges tonight. Remember, all the badges purchased through February on our lives are going to be donated straight to US Art on the 1st. I actually meant to donate everything from the live the other day where we did the fundraiser. I didn't know that Instagram only pays you out on the 1st and the 8th. So it was past the 8th. I was unable, so I won't get paid out for that. Until the 1st, once they pay me out for all my badges, going straight to US Art to help them with the big fight so we keep all of our animals. And for those of you guys that are just tuning in that didn't know, tonight is our big 50th episode. Damn, big 5-0. We're 50 episodes strong.
Crazy.
We're on our second year. Yeah, I know, it's so crazy. Do a Paradox cast with him, please.
We have one with him.
KP he's
a busy man.
I had to lock him down like 6 months ahead of time last time I got him on the podcast.
Well, you can check out the other one. He touches on it briefly without giving his secrets to it.
Yeah, Mr. producing 40 of them a year. He doesn't want to. I don't know the answer, guys. I just produce the most of them out of everybody.
Sorry, it's gonna get loud again. I'm gonna mute myself real quick.
Yo, sorry guys. I was studying for my exam. No worries. Kelly, thank you for the badge. Man, it's crazy tonight. So far we have raised $773. So we are $27 away from hitting the big 800 for the donation to US Art. So thank you everybody. We got 5 supporters in the chat tonight. I appreciate it, guys. You guys help us out tremendously. I hope everyone, if you guys have any questions about polygenic traits, recessive genes, codominant genes, or anything else that we talked about on tonight's live, please drop it in the comments. Let's talk. We got 14 more minutes. If you guys got any questions, ask Josh what his favorite food is.
Anything. Another badge.
Native MX Revolutionary Party bought a badge. Appreciate that. Thank you guys. Everybody supporting it. This month it means more than it would any other month because we are donating it to US Art. A lot of you guys don't know. They are fighting for us to keep our rights to have reptiles, exotic animals, fish, birds, everything right now because people are trying to take our rights away.
Yeah, and people think it's like crazy exotic animals and stuff. I mean, if this passes, this is pretty much the only animals that are safe are like dogs, cats,
My thing, right? If
stuff
they
like that. Like it's
just start with
kind
exotic, right? Start with the more crazy ones. What's to stop them from going after my chickens or going after my ducks? Like my African bullfrog I have, that thing can probably survive anywhere that stays pretty warm, right? And the problem is a lot of people are thinking, oh, my state, it's fine. It's federal. So if your animal can survive in Texas or Arizona, then it's going to be banned, unfortunately, because it can survive in the U.S. So uh, right now, it may not like so pit bulls, Rottweilers, Doberman Pinschers, like a lot of those animals are banned, right? They
They're
can
not
ban
banned. They're
all
just
dogs. Oh
yeah.
no, bro! Like if you want to rent a place, that shit's banned. Like
No. I'm saying not banned like you can't own them. You're just restricted. That's a better word to say.
I don't know. I think some states actually don't allow you to own like
Maybe.
certain breeds, like Doberman Pinschers and Rottweilers. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me, but I believe right. So they just started going after specific breeds of dogs, like they are right now. They're going after the exotic pet trade, right? And a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, we'll go underground and we'll fight it," but it's like we shouldn't have to hide what we do.
Or
It's
get arrested
not
for it.
selling drugs, guys. We're breeding animals, and most of us take care. Um, you know, uh, like Brian Barczyk said, like veterans use this for their PTSD. A lot of people use animals for different reasons besides breeding, animal education, helping people with their PTSD, anxiety. Like there's so much more to exotic animals than just keeping and breeding, right?
Yeah.
Um, so no one should be in charge of that except us or the states. Um, I think it being at state level where they have control over it is better. We can vote for stuff through state a lot better than we could, federally. Federally, it's a lot bigger fight, um, and federally, it's a lot bigger ban, right? Like
Yeah.
if Florida bans tegus, that doesn't affect me here in California, but this ban affects us all over the United States, guys. Um,
Yeah, but so what people understand is, especially with the tegus, like ever people say, oh, whatever, Florida, I live in Texas or I live in wherever, California. I don't care about what is going on in Florida, but most of the big breeders that breed tegus are in Florida. So there you go. I mean, now who you're gonna get your tegus from? Especially what are they called? What are the ones that Crutchfield breeds?
what the iguana, the green iguanas?
No, the tegus. Him and
The ice tegus?
Underground. What are they called?
The ice tegus, the blue ones?
Yeah, they're like purple or blue, stuff like that. Like most of those animals are. I mean, you can't really do anything with them now besides microchip them and wait until they die and then you're kind of done. So people are so quick to be like, oh, I'm not affected. I don't care. But in reality, everybody's affected by these big bans or restrictions.
Yeah. So unfortunately, like I think New York has some like crazy pet restrictions, right? And like, what animals honestly going to survive in New York if it got out? Like, I
Yeah.
honestly don't think any would. Um, but that should all be controlled by the state, and then you should be able to at least have some type, even if they were more along the regulations of it and made people get more permits or whatever. Like I'm totally fine with that. Like permits are
Yeah.
cool because when you pay for stuff like that, you're also supporting the hobby. You're also supporting fish and wildlife, right? And together, um, fish and wildlife isn't always educated on like bearded dragons or whatever. They're more like gun safety, fishing laws, stuff like that. So when we can come together with um, some type of committee like that, like the fish and wildlife, the law enforcement or whatever, in a positive way instead of like negative, like this Lacey Act is ridiculous. Like if you really read it, it is so ridiculous. I don't even understand how it got to where it is right now.
Well, also with that law, like if somebody that sits down and actually reads the law like itself, like the whole thing, it's a hard read because there's a lot of
Yeah, we're not
verbiage
gonna understand
that
that
kind of
shit.
hard to understand. So people are like, oh, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. But like, if you were to sit down with a lawyer or somebody that's educated enough to explain like how these laws are written and why they use certain phrases and words, like it's like you said, it's pretty fucked up.
It is, and it's extreme. So, if me, you know, most of my dragons are sold here in California anyways, right? Um, but that would just kill the pet trade, period. So even if I was breeding and selling to pet stores that were here selling local, that nothing was passing state lines, like where's the pet trade gonna go when people can't get any more animals? You know,
Well, not
even
even that.
stuff with what we have in our states.
Well, it's not even that, but like also like especially with certain breeds, like we only have a certain amount of bloodline within the state or within the even the U.S. So then when you can't move those certain different lines throughout the states or throughout the U.S. or whatever, you start getting a really bad like inbreeding problem because everybody's related somehow because you can't get any new fresh blood in. You know what I mean? And that's with everything.
Yeah,
I mean, even
it's
with roach,
negative.
you want to have fresh bloodlines.
DGR Exotics, thank you for buying a badge tonight. You guys got us up to $40.79. We already broke the $800 goal, so we're going to be donating $800 plus on the first to US Art. But yeah, so we kind of got off topic. If anybody's got questions about polygenic traits, recessive genes, codominant genes, guys, please drop some questions in the live. We'll be on here for 6 more minutes at least, answering any questions you guys got. We kind of got sidetracked with the Exceeds Act or the Exceeds bill, or God damn it, why do I always say Exceeds?
Yeah.
Oh, I keep saying it wrong.
No, I mean, man, but honestly, I mean, I think it's a valid conversation to bring up, especially when people that are sending money. You want them to know where their $5 or $10 is going to. It's one thing to just hear about something, talking about it, but it's one thing to actually know, like, hey, my $5 is going to something that may affect me in a year or 2 or 3 or whatever, if it ever does affect us.
Appreciate you, High Desert, for the badge. Yeah, and so, like, guys, I'm not a dumb person, right? But I know that I'm not smart enough to read everything that's going on in the competes, not exceeds, the competes bill or the Lacey Act, right?
Yeah.
But US Art does have a bunch of people in their army that is smart enough and knows how to fight that. And that's why we did the fundraiser the other night. And that's why we're donating all of our money that we make through badges this month to them to help them out. That's the only thing that I can see putting this money towards that makes sense, right? Like they're fighting the big fight for us. So my way to support them in that fight is financially. They need a lot of money to pay lawyers, to do all of that. Talk about the het visual X visual pairing that you posted the last time. So are you talking about the whole chart? So we kind of went through recessive genes, what you'll produce. So remember, the only way you can get 50% hets is from a visual to a het pairing. So
are you talking about like, let's say for example a het trans versus a visual trans breeding? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, are you asking Crystal or me?
No, asking Crystal, just so we're clear, because it says talk about the het visual title.
Yeah, like the most controversial thing with the trans gene is people breeding visual to hets, right? And totally fine if you know
the breeding was a het to het.
where your visual came from. If your visual came from a het to het pairing and it was produced by 2 hets, and then you now breed that to a het trans, you will most likely be fine, right? But if you don't know, don't take that risk. So when I originally put out the chart of all the genes and how you should them and why you should, that was for people getting into bearded dragons. That is not for people like Tracy or people like Josh or people like John at Extreme Dragons. That was for people that this is their first, maybe even 4th year of breeding, and they want to know more about genetics and how to do it properly. With the best of luck and not having any complications or as little complications as possible. So when breeding the trans gene, I always tell people, I think you should do head to head. There's no problem with head to head. If you do a visual to a het, you're just asking for more visuals, right? That's all you're trying to get is more visuals out of the pairing. So really, who's the bad guy? The one who breeds the head to head to produce better genetic quality animals, or the person that breeds the visual to het to get more visual animals that are going to be more money at the end of the day, right? They're going to be worth more because you're producing more visuals.
Which I mean, have you seen a slight decline in trans dragons, like for sale wise? Like I feel like people are crazy as they were for trans that they were. Like I'm seeing a lot of people that are like, "Hey, do you have dragons that have no het or no visual trans?" Like I don't know, at least me.
So someone said, "What are trans to trans thoughts?" Right? I don't have thoughts on trans to trans, but I can tell you guys what I have seen. Right? What I have seen myself firsthand. Not me. I did not breed it, but I've seen people who bred trans to trans together, and babies were born with their feet backwards, no feet, missing toes, babies that just didn't survive. There's a lot going on neurologically that doesn't always show itself right away, and not even in the 6 weeks that you keep the dragon before you sell it. Sometimes it doesn't pop out for a year, and stress causes it or something like that. You never know with the trans gene, right? But you should never do visual to visual with any recessive genes. You're just gonna accept hypo. Hypo is literally the only one you can do visual to visual. Most other, you will have a ton of neurological problems. You'll have a ton of low birth rate, birth defects. So it's just not something that you want to learn firsthand. Take everybody else's experience on that one and just don't, don't try to do it yourself and figure it out, because one, you're just gonna find out what everyone's been telling you is true.
Yeah, okay? And, I'm for all people doing their own experiments with their animals, which is fine and dandy and all that stuff. But what I have a problem with is people that, let's say, hey, I'm gonna do trans. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it, right? You have trans, and let's say you have 20 babies. Do you plan on keeping those 20 babies for the rest of their life? And seeing how they are, or are you gonna just say, hey, I got a dragon for sale, he's trans, I want $300 for him? You know what I'm saying? Then I kind of have my things. You're like, listen, you have no idea what that dragon, is gonna look like when it gets older, how it's gonna act, what it's gonna produce, if it even can produce. It's just one of those things. Like if you're gonna,
for free, to find out.
What's that?
Even if you're scientific, even if you wanted to do scientific experiment and you were giving the animals away, right? You didn't keep all 20 of them, but you gave them away for free and disclosed what the pairing was and what possible problems they could have, is the only way that I would see it even being a responsible experiment, right?
I know.
So many people have already done it.
Was it Tammy that was saying that, back in the day, because she has been doing this for a very long time, that they used to experiment, and they're the main, pioneers that figured out, hey, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. But she did say that they kept all of their offspring to watch them, to figure out what's going on with them, what the possible risks are of doing it. So stuff like that. I mean, if it's for research and you're going to take care of the animals and be responsible for it, then
I mean, it definitely didn't. All the information on trans and all this stuff didn't just pop out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
People have already bred them, and this isn't back in probably like 2006, right? So we're talking almost 20 years ago. So when people now are like, oh, well, what happened? These people have been answering that question for 20 years almost, and they don't want to break it down to like what exactly happen when they did it. They just tell you don't do it. You know, you're gonna have problems, and most people just like want to remake the wheel. They're like, oh well, this person didn't do it, but I can do it. Watch, you know. But it's gonna have negative effects.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it.
Somebody brought up another question, which they answered it already. Can you pair a visual 0 to a visual width to get 100% het Weirdo? Thanks.
Yes, they hold
I
head.
don't work with
They're one.
either 0 or Weirdos. I just personally don't, and for some reason I just don't like that pairing. Which I know people do it successfully, and that's how you make Weirdos or whatever. I'm just not a fan of that for some.
Actually, so if you want to make Weirdos, right, um, you would have to have a 0 and a Whiplets breed, and then you'd have to have a whole separate bloodline of Wits and Zeros breed, and then you'd have to breed their offspring.
Yeah.
And you would only get, you know, a few Weirdos, some Wits, some Zeros, and a mix of hets. And then, you know, then it gets tricky. Like, what are the hets het for? Then you have to prove those out. They could be possible hets for 0 and Wit. So it gets crazy, bro. What are others you should not breed? So
Leatherback, leatherback.
0 to 0 should never be bred. I don't want to say leatherback to leatherback, right? Because it's more of a preference. Like, silkies are still a healthy animal, right? But they do take a lot of extra care to keep them healthy. Most of them are born with no problems, though, besides the eye issues. If you have too strong a light, they can get cut because they have very soft, thin skin. You have to moisturize them. So there are some downs to it, but for the most part, it's just a super version of leatherbacks, right? So you're not gonna. There's not. It's not nearly as bad as any of the other ones. Not nearly as bad as trans to trans or trans to het. Weirdo to Weirdo, you don't ever want to do that. No, Whiplets to Whiplets, that's just going to give you problems. Even Dunner to Dunner, leatherback to leatherback can be done to create silkies, right? But you do not want to do Dunner to Dunner. There's a ton of problems that come from Dunner to Dunner.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the leatherback to leatherback just because when you have to baby a lizard that's literally supposed to be one of the hardier lizards, and you have to put lotion on it and all this other shit to keep it alive. Me personally, I don't think it's ethical. And like you said, some of them, I guess, are healthy, but I mean, when you have to, change the lighting and you have to they shed like shit, they start missing fingers and they start doing this. I feel like you're doing more harm to the animal as it grows than you are just not breeding it. And again, that's just my personal opinion. I don't agree with silkies at all, or breeding for them. But again, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, so that could go for any gene, though. I mean, like, honestly, all these genes are mutations at the end of the day. So it's
Yeah.
not like we're not breeding for the better of bearded dragons, or we would be breeding wild bearded dragons if we were doing that, right? We're trying to get the strongest bearded dragons that visually show awesome morphs or genes.
Yeah.
But if if the gene or whatever you're doing actually produces like sick animals, like neurological problems, that's something
Yeah.
you shouldn't do. Like, I don't recommend that you breed leatherback to leatherback, but the animal is healthy, and as long as you actually take care of it, it's totally fine. You just have to. It takes extra care.
Yeah.
Just
You're talking
scaleless
about.
snakes.
Yeah, I get your point of it. Like as far as like the animal is yeah, I get that part. I just feel like I'm on the other side of just like I'd rather just not do it. It's just more bullshit on the animal. You know what I mean? It's like some other
Yeah,
breeds
I
that
personally wouldn't do it because I don't want to take care. I don't want to take on that responsibility.
yeah
I just don't want people to think like ethnically that's your own battle to fight. But it's a healthy animal at the end of the day. Ethnically, should we do it? I'll let you guys decide that for yourself. But thank you guys for everybody tuning in tonight to the only Bearded Dragon podcast that matters every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Man, it's the 50th episode. Can you believe it? We made it to a year and a half ago. We were talking about how are we going to make it to episode 5, and we're 45 episodes later. We're at 50. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Everybody that bought a badge, so we got 12 badges purchased tonight. Let's see how many donors we got real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll give you guys all a shout out too. I don't know why I'm just counting. So we got High Desert Dragons, TGR Exotics, Kelly Schultz 16, his Mocha, Full Blooded Dragon 1932. Native MX Revolutionary Party, Crystal Clear Exotics, Coco Car, Cool Dragons, and my wife, Mrs. Red Zone Reptiles. Appreciate everybody for purchasing badges tonight. We raised almost $45, and we broke that $800 donation that we were really shooting for. I hope everybody has a great night, and if you have any questions about anything that we touched on, polygenic traits, recessive genes, codominant genes, what heterozygous means, 66%, 100% heads, 50% heads, any of that, guys, please hit up me and Josh in the DMs or watch the video back over. I'm pretty sure we touched on everything, but if we didn't, please, our DMs are always open, and have a great night until I see you guys next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go ahead and see us on out, Josh.
All right, guys. See you guys next week. Hopefully, I'll be able to make it. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm in school, so my schedule is really crazy. But I'll try to make it next week. And thank you guys for watching, like always. And we're always here to help. So see you guys next week.
Thank you, guys.